It's early in the morning, about 7:43. I've been up for a while. As I told you in my very first video, so this is number two. Number two. We're gonna leave in all the bloopers, everything. So hopefully the recording is a little bit better than it was first time. I'm gonna try my best. I think I've got my lighting set up pretty good. Having fun with the equipment. I like tech stuff, and the YouTube thing will be fun. So today I'm going to talk about cars, and that's one of my passions that I like. I really enjoy it. So I'll give you a little bit of my background here, and I made some quick notes because watching other YouTubers, it's important, at least I think so, to have a few notes so you kind of stay on track, although you'll find I'm kind of a talker, so I'm going to go off track a little bit every now and then, but that's not going to hurt. And probably going to have to wear my glasses because at my age I can't read up close without my glasses on. So kind of a funny note, I told you I'm a school bus driver, and I really enjoy that. It's a lot of fun. And there's a movie called Up. You might have seen it. It's a cartoon movie for kids. Actually a pretty good movie. I would recommend watching it if you like that. It's very light. And there's the man that's on there has dark glasses like this, although they're a little more square. And the kids on the bus say that I look like the little old man from Up. So I buy these reading glasses on eBay. Another survivability thing. You don't need to spend a lot of money. If you just need reading glasses, these glasses probably cost $3 a piece. And they're actually really good. I buy them 2 or 3 pair at a time. I think right now I just switched from 2.5 to 2.75 strength. And yeah, that's great. And I have kind of a beater pair of glasses that I wear on the bus because my seatbelt, when I'm sitting in the bus, sometimes it goes over the top of the lenses and scratches them. But anyways, not to go off track here, but anyways, the kid said I look like the little old man on the movie Up. So I've been trying to buy real square glasses because I went online and looked up what this guy looks like. I can't remember his name. And I'm going to get those glasses so that I do look like the little old man from Up. So anyways, my background, I'm going to start out here and tell you right now, in no way am I bragging about my background of my knowledge of automotive. It's a passion with me. So when I was about 15 years old, I was anticipating getting my driver's license. My dad, Frank Quayle, was a very mechanical guy. So he didn't go to college. I think he might have gone for a couple semesters, but he really was not a college graduate. He was self-taught. He was born in 1921, and he went into the service, World War II. He was a pilot. He actually was a pilot of a PBY, or also known as a Catalina, which is a big plane that lands on the water. He went into the service when he was 19 years old. He's World War II vets, and of course I'm super proud of my dad. He was pretty cool. He was the pilot of the plane. There was a crew, I'm going to say, of about 9 guys. The plane was a patrol reconnaissance plane, long distance, very slow plane. Again, it landed on the water and took off from on the water. It also had, some of them had retractable wheels. They could take off from both land and water. It's a pretty big plane. Dropped torpedoes and they chased submarines. So I've got to go down and look up my dad's record to find out exactly where he went on patrol. They tell me that if I go down to the naval base that's in Pensacola, Florida, they will help me look that up. My dad passed in 1991. I do have quite a few photos, and I will do that as a YouTube to show you. It's pretty cool. My son-in-law is a pilot, and his family is very centered around aircraft. My son-in-law, Jeff, has a degree in aeronautical engineering from Western University in Michigan, and he's a super smart guy, fun guy to talk to. He also has a master's degree in business. He works for Stellantis, which used to be the Chrysler Corporation. Um, so it's kind of neat to talk aircraft with Jeff, because he's definitely an aircraft nerd. His dad is also. That's where Jeff picked it up from. But anyways, it's kind of cool. So I learned my mechanical skills. It started with my dad, and he taught me the basics. And when I was 15, I didn't even have my license yet. I popped open the hood of my parents' cars and started looking inside, and I never took shop class, but I went and actually bought the book that the kids in my high school used in shop class and read it from front to back of how an internal combustion car engine works, and just went crazy. I couldn't get enough of it. And like a lot of typical kids, I was into hot rodding. So I graduated from high school in 1973. They still had some pretty cool cars around back then. And my dad was the kind of guy, he showed me a lot of stuff mechanically. So when he got out of the service in World War II, which was in 1946, he needed a job, and my grandfather was an attorney. There's a whole nother story right there. But my grandfather was representing a company that had gone out of business or was shutting down, or the owner had passed, or I don't really know the exact details. And they had a bunch of work in process, in other words, unfinished jobs of sheet metal stampings, prototypes, in other words, experimental work. And my dad, being mechanical, said, boy, I think I can do that. My grandfather, being the attorney that represented the company, went to the court and said, my son can finish out the work. And eventually, my dad said, I want to buy some of the parts and the tooling and start my own company. He started this company with $2,400. So he borrowed $1,200 from his parents. He borrowed $1,200 from my mom's parents. And he bought a couple workbenches. And of course, it was different back then. But he turned himself into a sheet metal model maker. So we'll do a whole thing on that. It's pretty cool. But anyways, my dad taught me the basics, and I can remember as a kid, he showed me, because I started out using my dad's tools, like a lot of kids did. I went in the garage, and my dad was nice enough to let me use his tools, his hand tools, not the ones that he had at his shop, but the ones we had in our garage. And one of the things that my dad taught me was, don't be afraid to take something apart, even if you don't understand how it works. You got to remember, this is before the internet. This is before the computer, before cell phones. You couldn't look anything up. How did you figure things out? You got a screwdriver and you open the back and you start taking it apart. If it was a car engine, you open the hood, pop the air cleaner off, start looking around, checking everything. That's how I learned. And I read the book, and I learned, and started taking my mom's car, which was a 69 Cougar, had a 351 Windsor in it, and I started fiddling with it. So, long story short, my parents, I went to school for a short term at Eastern Michigan University to get a degree in accounting. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, I can't even balance my checkbook. My wife does all the accounting work in our family. I don't like accounting. It just doesn't interest me. But I love mechanics. And I think I passed one class at Eastern, dropped out because I wanted to play with my car. I was a drag racer. And luckily, I had parents that recognized what I wanted to do. Nowadays, we had a time where people were pushing their kids to get these fancy degrees. I'm a boomer, so I'm going to tell you how I feel. They got to master's degree in art appreciation. Not that that's a bad thing, but I'm just saying, then they couldn't figure out why they couldn't get a job. I think the parents now are realizing that you've got to recognize what your gifts are that your children were given. And it may not be what you think it is. Luckily, I had parents that saw that, and my dad said, wow, my son is a lot like me. He wants to be in a shop. He wants to work with his hands. He wants to get grease under his fingernails. And so my dad did the research and found out that there were a couple of schools, but one of them being Ferris State University in Michigan. It's in mid-Michigan. And they were one of the few that actually offered an associate's degree in automotive service. So my dad suggested that I do that, and because the school at that time, you gotta remember this is in like 1973, 74, they had a backlog, and you had to wait a couple of years to get into the automotive service program to get the associate's degree. But they also had a one-year program in auto machining. And they said if you went into that program first, you were guaranteed there would be no lapse. You would be able to go right into the automotive service. So basically saving you about a year's waiting time. My dad suggested, yes, do it. So I did. I went in and I took auto machine. And auto machining is rebuilding engines, car engines, truck engines, stationary engines. Taking them apart, we learned how to use valve grinding, crank grinding, camshaft grinding machines, Blanchard grindings, valve reconditioning, everything. Completely rebuilding engines for 1 year and all the machining that goes with it. Those students that went from auto machine into auto service had a little bit of an advantage because we had taken engines apart and now we were going to go for a 2-year program. So that's what I did. And, to kind of shorten my story here, I told you I like to talk a lot, don't I? So it's pretty easy when I talk about something I like. To shorten my story, I went through the summer when I was at Ferris. Instead of going home for the summer, I continued and took my classes so that my whole 3-year journey would be shortened. And I think it's shortened by about a half a year. So in other words, I didn't go home on summer vacation. I stayed, took more classes. And I have a 1-year degree in auto machining, and I have a 2-year associate's degree in auto service. I could have stayed, and I had enough credits, and I could have got a 4-year degree, and I think it would have been in automotive and heavy equipment technology, but I didn't. So that was good. And when I got out of college, my dream was to move to Florida and be an auto mechanic. And I was a young guy, a hot shot. I had a 69 Camaro, it's a beautiful car, that I had built myself completely. Beautiful car. I bought the car in Florida. Believe it or not, I paid $850 for the 69 Camaro. Excuse me. Took the rear end out, put a 12-bolt posi, 373 rear end, turbo 400, completely rebuilt transmission, high stall converter, dropped an LT1 engine into it, 350. It was very fast, and took that down to Florida. I remember I had Craftsman toolbox, top and bottom cabinet, which is pretty much standard for an auto mechanic. They, believe it or not, those fit in the back seat of my 69 Camaro. So there was no fold-down back seat back then on that. They didn't have that much on cars. But I loaded my lower cabinet, my top box, and went down to Florida and worked as a mechanic in an independent garage as a young guy. And I learned. I was lucky. So that is my background. And I'll go into more of that. My little auto mechanic journey, because it was a long journey. I did a lot of different things. I ended up pulling wrenches at a few different places, mostly independents. I worked at a few car dealerships. Ran a front end alignment rack at a Chevy dealer. I was a service writer at a Pontiac dealership. I had injured myself. I dropped dropped a car on my finger, so I had to do something. So I became a service writer for a while. It wasn't the greatest job, but it paid the bills. And then I ended up at the experimental garage at Ford Motor Company down in Dearborn. That was a great gig. And then I ended up getting into tool and die for 23 years. So another story for another YouTube. But to bring us what I'm trying to show you is my background and what I have in knowledge. And again, not trying to brag or anything. I'm just telling you this is what I did. I worked on cars. I know. Now I'm a senior citizen. I'm 70 years old. And what I realize is that I don't think a lot of people realize that when you look at the amount of income that people have the ability to make today, and then you look at the cost of an automobile, it's crazy. So to pay $50,000 for a car, and again, I'm not out here to bash the automotive companies. I have a lot to say about it. I don't like the way they do things, but that's really not the purpose of this YouTube. But I think we have to recognize that take for instance, you go buy a brand new car and you spend $50,000 on it. You're tethered to the car dealership now. It's a brand new car. You've got a warranty that goes with it. So for a period of time, and I don't even know what the warranties, they used to be in the old days 12,000 miles. Now they're 36,000. I'm sure you can buy extended warranties, which I am against. But you're tethered to the dealership. I mean, I just look at it from a practical standpoint and go, all right, you got to take it into the dealership. They're going to fix it. How do you get to work? What do you do? Go rent a car? That's expensive. I have a totally different approach. So I look at my own personal way that I do it is I actually have a mini fleet. It's like being a fleet manager of cars at my house because my wife and I need to go to the grocery store, go to the doctor. I have a job. I still work. And maintaining a reliable car is expensive. Let's face it. And a lot of people, it throws them into a financial area that's not good. And it shouldn't be. I'm outside of Detroit. I'm in mid-Michigan. Detroit was the automotive capital of the world. We don't have a mass transit system. We don't live in New York City or Toronto where you can hop on a subway. You want to get a job and go to work, you're driving a car. That's reality. We also live in Michigan. It's used to be called the Winter Wonderland. Winter Wonderland, what does that mean? That means we're going to have sleet and snow and all kinds of fun, icy, inclement weather. And you've got to be prepared for that. When the temperatures drop 10 degrees, you got to have a car that'll start and run and produce heat. When there's a foot of snow on the ground, you got to have a car that's going to be able to go through that if you want to be reliable and get to work. I work as a school bus driver. I only work 8 minutes away from the bus garage, but I got to get there every morning. If you're a school bus driver, you can't be late. You can't just call in. The kids have to be picked up. If there's school and we've got a snow, you can't just wimp out. So, and I'm not going to anyways. It just isn't in my nature. I'm not going to do it. I'm a baby boomer, so I'm always going to show up for work. So we need to maintain the overhead of owning a car. And that is probably the main purpose of this YouTube. So my little fleet is, I believe, and it's kind of like some of the things that my son-in-law Jeff would say, when you have an airplane engine, those are designed with quite a bit of redundancy, meaning if one thing fails, one system, you have a backup system, plan A and plan B. So how did I create redundancy in my mini fleet at my house? I bought two of the same cars. So I did my own research. And did I go out and buy, I used to own quite a few Corvettes, a Corvette or a Lexus or a Mercedes-Benz. No, I bought what I thought was a reliable car, an easy to repair car, a car that has a proven engine and transmission that's going to hold up, the best you can figure out. And we have the internet now, so this is very easy to do. And I'm a believer in, well, like I said, I own 2 Ford Focus station wagons. And the station wagon part is important. Why? A station wagon is the original SUV. And being that I'm a mechanical kind of a guy, where am I going all the time? I'm going to Home Depot. I'm buying 2x4s and tools and parts. I also have a 2012 Ford F-250 pickup truck, 4-wheel drive, short bed. So if I need bigger stuff, big sheet of plywood, something very heavy, I can use that. And again, that's another story, but that truck is kind of reserved for my truck camper. But let's just talk about the Focuses. So that's what we're going to look at today. And the redundancy of having 2 of the same cars that take the same parts. So on a Ford Focus, I chose the ones that were built between 2005 and 2007. So 2005, 6, and 7, all the parts will fit almost exactly the same. So if I buy a part for my 2005 and I don't need it, I could use it on my 2007. Any car that you buy is going to need brakes. That's what's going to happen. Every, let's just say 30,000 miles, you're going to put new brakes on the front. It doesn't matter if you buy a Corvette or a Mercedes or whatever it is. The parts that I buy for my cars will fit both my 2005 that I drive and my 2007 that my wife drives. So it makes it a lot easier to get the parts. But brakes, shocks, tires, all those things, I don't care what kind of car you buy, they're going to wear out. You're going to buy tires. So you've got to pre-plan. And the idea is, like right now, I don't need brakes. I don't think so. We're going to find out later today because when we pull in the one car in the barn today, I'm going to film that. We'll show you what we find out. So the 2005, and both my cars have names because it's like a boat. You have to name your car. So my car is called Skeeter. My wife's car is called Little Bitch. So don't ask me how we got those names. We bought both cars. I paid right around $3,000 a piece. I bought them off Facebook Marketplace. We bought the brown one, the 2007, from a retired school teacher, and I believe she had bought the car new. Both cars, we bought them with about 100,000 miles on them. Yeah, and you're probably going, wow, that's a lot of miles. In my world, that is not. So if I determine that the car is in good shape when I bought it, I'm fine. I believe these cars will go 300,000-400,000 miles. The car has a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. It's a proven engine. If you change the oil and the filter, of course, on a regular basis, the engine will go forever. Obviously, you have to make sure the air filter. You change the spark plugs about every 100,000. There's a few other minor adjustments. You have to make sure that your timing belt's in good shape, the serpentine belt. And again, you don't wait till it breaks. You change it ahead of time. Some of these engines are set that if that breaks and you're going down the road, you'll bend all the valves. So you don't wait when I bought both cars, first thing I did, changed the serpentine drive belt. It's cheap insurance. The belt costs about $20-25. Anyways, so what we're going to do today is my car, Skeeter. Oh, and just to show you how much I love these wagons, because I'm totally, it's amazing. Like I said, I can put all kinds of stuff in the back. We have a dog. We can put the dog in the back. We put her dog bed in the back. We could take a trip with her in the back. It's great. We can flip the seat up. I can put 4 or 5 people in this thing. It's front wheel drive. The front to back ratio is really good on these. They have excellent traction in the snow. We run Blizzak. I'm trying to think of the manufacturers at BF Goodrich, but they're called Blizzak. Did my research, bought another set of wheels. We put Blizzak directional snow tires on the front of both of these cars. And I have a very steep driveway, gravel driveway. I can't tell you how good these things go. I don't even have the snow tires on right now. We got an inch and a half a few days ago. Car doesn't even slip coming up the driveway. Every car is a little different, but these particular cars, the way they are set up, again, it's the weight ratio and the weight's distributed. They're very good in the snow. Now you put these Blizzak directional snow tires. They're not very expensive. I put them on from December 1st. Let's see, December, January, February, March. And at the end of March, I take them off. Could we have a blizzard in April? You betcha. But that's how I do it. I put it on a schedule. So today, we store the tires up on a rack in our barn, our garage. I'll take the tires down. I'm going to pull in my wife's car, little bitch, the brown one, the '07. We're going to visibly look underneath to inspect the lower control arms to make sure that they are not rusting like they were on mine, which is another story. Mine actually were so rusted. I had the parts, I bought the parts, the control arms with the ball joints in them, had them sitting on the shelf. Was going to do it in January when I had some time, because I've been busy learning how to do YouTube. And I backed out to go to work one morning, heard a big clunk, and yep, the lower control arm broke completely in half. My bad. I learned a lesson because I had to get the car towed, because at that point you can't drive it. So I had the parts. I had already had them quote a price. It was right around $300. And I was deciding whether I was going to do it myself or not. I do not have a hoist at my house. And I have to admit, at my age, at 70 years old, laying on my back on a creeper underneath the car in my cold, I have a heated barn, but it's hard. And I can't tell you how much I'd love to have Santa bring me a car hoist. I just don't have an extra $5,000 laying around right now, but maybe someday, you never know. But we took it up to the place. They put the lower control arms on. It's pretty easy. It's just a bolt-on thing. But with Michigan and the rust, getting those bolts off, you got to wrestle around a little bit. New axle shaft. We also found out that the wheel bearing on the driver's side was bad. It's pretty loose. I had them replace that. That has to be pressed out of the hub. Again, you need an arbor press. I do not have that piece of equipment. I know how to do it, but I don't have that, so it just worked out better. And I think out the door with everything, it was around $1,000. Again, I got $3,000 in the car. I got $4,000 in the car. That's a lot less than $50,000. So now we had to take the car, because when you dismantle the front end, you take the tie rod ends off, you're going to have to check the alignment. So that's pretty simple. It's a strut suspension. You're probably not going to be adjusting camber and caster, but toe in, which is the front tires, that has to be adjusted right. And I could tell when I got it back, it was off. The steering wheel was not centered. It was crooked when you're driving straight down the road. I used to run an alignment rack, so it's really easy for me to recognize that. Could I have done it myself with a steel tape measure or rig up some kind of a trammel? No. I could, but I don't want to do that. I took it somewhere. And that's another important lesson. You want to keep your car repair and maintenance costs under control. then you need to do a little research before your car breaks. I did. I got on the phone. I called, I'm not going to use some name, I don't want to, but a big chain tire place. It's probably one of the biggest in the United States. Another local repair shop in Lapeer, and a couple of others, and they range from $100, this is just to do the alignment, to $80 to $60. Now the place that I took it to is kind of an iconic place. It's called Mr. Front End. They specialize in front suspensions of cars. Suspension work. It's called Mr. Front End. They've been around forever. I don't know, since late 70s. I think Clyde's Frame Shop is the one in Oakland County. They're very iconic. They're known by everybody. They do the stuff that no one else can do. And think about it. Here I go to the Mr. Front End. They're the best. I mean, I think so. They're very good. And they're the ones that charge $60, the least amount to do it. Doesn't make sense, does it? And there's times when you want to go with the cheap, less expensive. I don't say cheap. And there's times when you don't. This is one of those times. And on a Ford Focus, you can check the rear suspension. The camber and toe-in is adjustable in the rear on a Ford Focus. It rarely needs to be adjusted. I believe there are some eccentric cams in the back that adjust it. They're usually frozen, rusted. You're never going to get them apart. So again, it's $20 more. For $80, you can do the four-wheel alignment. You don't need that. The other reason I didn't do the four-wheel alignment is there are some, I'm going to call them trailing arms that are in the back rear suspension of the Ford Focus, and there are some lower rear control arms, little control arms. And on mine, I'd already looked at those. The rubber bushings in the control arms, totally dried out, loose. When we took it over to the alignment shop at Mr. Front End, the mechanic was showing me and just confirming what I already knew, that they were very loose in the back. We're going to order those parts on eBay. I might put those in myself. I'll see what my schedule is. If I feel like laying on the floor doing it. Once I get the garage heated up, it might not be hard at all. The key for me to take this stuff apart is to start soaking the bolts with rust penetrant a week before. That's the hard part. I have air tools and a compressor, but wrestling the bolts out of underneath of a car that's been in Michigan on the highway with salt, yeah, that's a reality check. But so there's no sense in checking the rear alignment when you know you've got parts that are loose. So we're going to replace both. He said the lower control arm on the passenger side was loose, which we did look at. He thought the other side, I didn't go over there and look, was tight. I'm not going to do that. I always do it in sets. We're going to do both of them. The rubber's dried out on the driver's side, even though it's not loose. Trust me, if you grab that wheel hard enough when it's off the ground and pulled on it, I can get it to move. It's loose. The rubber's gone. So just buy a pair of them. Those parts, I have a search set up on eBay right now. I'll buy those parts at my convenience. Probably one part there. It's a universal part. The part number is just one part number, fits left or right. So it's really simple. So you set up a search on eBay. The search stays there, saved. It's called a saved search. Pretty easy. And you can set up so that you get email alerts. I don't, or text alerts. I don't do that. When I pop on eBay, which I do probably every other day at the least, I'll look into my saved searches for things that I need, and if those come up, and a lot of times these are parts that people have bought, and they're just sitting on the shelf in their house. They've sold the car. The car was in an accident. They got rid of it years ago. They come across these parts, they put them on eBay, and they want to sell them. Do you think the seller's going to sell them at a discount? Heck yeah. They want them off. Getting something would be better than getting nothing. And you'll be surprised if I showed you what if you went to a local auto parts store, even the ones that everybody knows about, the big chains. And I don't want to mention names because I don't like to put other businesses down, but because there's a place for them when you need stuff. So this channel is not about knocking other people, but it's showing you ways to do it, ways to find these parts. And you may or may not want to do that. You may not be automotive like I am, and you might say, look, I just want to hook up with a good source. So anyways, we took it into ABC. We got the lower control arms done. We got the sway bar link ends, got way better ones than the factory. They're greasable. We got the pivot bushings in. Everything's nice and tight on the front end. Now we're going to take it over to Mr. Front End. Brandon was our mechanic, a young guy, I think he's probably around my son's age, mid-20s. It's cool to see young people like that doing what I did. I mean, I ran a front end rack at a Chevy dealer. I love front end work. It's neat. It's geometry. I like geometry. I like suspensions. And Brandon did a great job. He let me film in YouTube on there, so I'll flip that in. That'll be kind of cool to bring in another clip. I haven't done that yet. And we'll show you what happened with Skeeter. Got it back. He said yes, the toe-in was off, and he recentered the wheel. It drives perfect. It's great. So my car is ready. Tomorrow morning I have to go into work.
What vehicle is this again?
This is a 2005 Ford Focus wagon. It is light green in color, except for the hood that's been replaced.
And then we wanted to line that up, right?
Yes, sir.
Anything going on with it?
No, actually, I just replaced the lower control arms, and I can tell the steering wheel's offset. It's off center to the right a little bit.
Okay.
So I know we're just basically going to be doing the toe-in.
Okay. Yeah. So I will check all four on it, of course, and then see exactly where we're gonna go.
The backs you never change though. They're wearing great. Everything wears great. I just know that we gotta.
John, we'll get you going here in just a few minutes, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So what was your first name?
Brandon.
Brandon?
Yep.
And Brandon is working on, in case you don't know Brandon, we have two of these cars. This one is mine, and it's called Skeeter. And this is an 05 that we went out to Iowa City, Iowa to get. My wife has an 07, a brown one, and that one's named Little Bitch. So we love these cars, these little Focuses, because they have a real good engine. And Brandon, right?
Yep.
Brandon is going, we just put new lower control arms on it, and Brandon's going to check the alignment, probably do a little tweaking on the toe-in, and then he's advising me that we're going to do some lower control. Stop it.
In action.
So to me, what it looks like is the outside pads look okay, but the insides, I don't think we got much left. They look like they're right down to the end there, from what I can see.
Can't really get into that. See.
There we go. Okay. You can see the grease coming out the top, so we're good. And the bottom, the bag is full. Okay. We're going to set these with a torque wrench, 100 foot-pounds. Let it down a little bit. It doesn't spin. Okay. Now we're going to set our pressure. Put our pressure at 45. We're running on this car, we're running the backs at 35. The door jamb says 32. I like the handling and the ride better at 35. The Blizzaks are a different type of tire. Totally different. So if you follow the manufacturer's instructions, you run them a little more. Perfect. Beautiful. So there you go. It's all set, it's done. Little bitch, as we call her, has got her new shoes, her winter shoes, which are these puppies right here, the Blizzaks. And they're amazing. Yep. And I couldn't recommend them more. Hey, Daisy, take a look at me. This is Miss Daisy. You might see her in a few of our YouTubes. She's our therapy dog. She's about 13 years old. She's looking for dinner right now, but she doesn't get fed till 4, so it's not 4 o'clock. I'm giving her the hand signal. I hold up the 4 fingers and say, it's not 4 o'clock yet. Right, Daisy? And she knows. So, you'll have to look at that. She just lays right down. So wait till dinner. Good girl, Days. Mom gave you a bath or a shower earlier this afternoon. You're looking pretty, girl. Looking good. She's a good dog. She doesn't do anything wrong. She's getting older. She has a couple little accidents now and then on the carpet if we don't get to her, but again. Okay, so we're back. You got to meet Miss Daisy, which was cool. That's our dog. She's a great dog. Yeah, she'll be in some of our videos. So the bottom line on the car was that we checked both sides. The inside pads on the front, both of them are worn. I looked up the mileage. We got a good 35,000, 40,000 miles out of those brakes. So they're wearing on the inside pads more than the outside, especially on the left side. Probably because the sliding caliper pins are frozen up. So we'll take those apart. So I do have the new brake rotors, coated ones, as I mentioned before, and ceramic pads. Bought them off of Amazon. They're the same ones, the exact same brand that a local big box auto store sells. So I think we got a pretty good deal on them. It was about $130 for the two disc rotors and a set of ceramic pads. So very simple on the Focus to do. I'll do that over Christmas vacation. I'll have my wife Laura drive my car because she's going to be going a longer distance. I'll take her car, which has the worn out front brakes. And it really doesn't matter at this point. I don't think they're quite metal to metal, but they're awful close on that one inside pad. It doesn't really matter if it hurts the rotor. I'm going to take the rotor off and throw it away. So we're not going to do these new rotors. You really don't, typically you don't turn them. I'm not going to do that. So, meaning machine them. Anyways, we're good. You got to see how we did it. I'll do the brakes probably over Christmas vacation because I'll be off from the bus garage, and that'll be a simple day job to do. And then on my car, the green one, the 05, we just have to put the Blizzak snow tires on the front, and we're ready for winter. So we keep up with our oil changes. That's it. So bear with me. I'm learning how to do the editing. It's probably the hardest part for me on YouTube. I'm really liking the filming. It's the camera. The Sony ZV-E10 is a great camera. That part's neat. I'm not running out of subject matter. I'm going to bounce around here in the beginning, show you a lot of different stuff that we do on the farm here, and see what interests you, because I know I had some people in the comments say they want to see how the ham radio works. I'll do that. I have to get together a little outline. It comes easy for me because I've been doing it for so many years, so I can explain it to you. It's pretty neat though. We'll have some time. We'll show you some of our gardening projects. We have the wood stove going right now in the house, heating the house completely. We've got a cold front coming through here in Michigan. So we're going to heat with wood for a couple of days. Then it's going to warm up. We'll turn the wood stove off and go back to our efficient furnace. So that's about it. I hope you liked the video. If you feel like subscribing, that'd be great. Give me a like. Send me comments. Like I said, I'm working on the editing. It's challenging. DaVinci. I have to figure it out all myself via the internet. And I just have time at night, and then I have my 4 hours in between because I'm driving the bus. Other than that, have a great day. Peace be with you.